Hello and welcome back to the GI podcast. I am your host, Sid Heeg.
And I'm Toben Racicot.
And today we are joined by Dr. Eugene Kukshinov, a postdoctoral fellow here at the GI and the Stratford School of Interaction Design and Business, working with Dr. Leonard Nacka and the HCI Games Group. Eugene is a fixture of the Games Institute, and it is about time he came on the podcast, especially since he's been here for a bit. And he does a lot of very interesting research. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me here. This is really exciting. I've never been in a podcast before.
Oh, well, you're going to
We hear that a lot.
Well, researchers.
Yeah, that's true.
Are they famous? No, most of them are not.
No.
Why would they?
No.
So what we start with in this podcast is a question just kind of to set the stage. So we'd like to ask, where were you first kind of exposed to games, board games, card games, video games? Where did your interest in all this start?
Well, interest in games, I would say, and interest in game research starts very differently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, interest in research, I would say, starts much, much later. Of course. It's not like I was 6 years old and I want to do research. Okay, give me the data. No, I was actually trying to remember when did I play games first, because as a much younger child, maybe when I was 4 or 5, I had a lot of toys. I didn't have a lot of. I don't think I had any games really. I had toys, and I didn't have any siblings, and I didn't have a lot of friends around. I was living in East Germany at that point.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we were moving around. But later, I think I got the first console. I think it was the only console I've ever had. I'm not sure how to call this. It was a huge kind of a computer, which you can insert this huge square discs
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like floppies, or are we talking like bigger than that?
like this.
Okay,
Oh.
big ones.
Big
Okay.
ones.
Big, huge.
Yeah, and I had a huge joystick as well. And the game was pretty simple. It was a penguin jumping and moving like this.
Sure.
Left to the right and jumping.
Like
That's
the
pretty
Google game, kind of like the T-Rex that you make jump
When your internet is
Google-
out?
when
Really,
your Chrome doesn't work?
probably. I don't really remember. Like
Okay.
I have really bad memory of my childhood and my early age, to be honest. And yeah, so this was the only one.
Okay.
And yeah. And this was pretty much the only console I've ever owned myself,
Oh, that's so
because all the
interesting.
other cases it was like someone else's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool childhood. So like even the computer appeared really much later, the
Right.
PC. So yeah.
Okay. So then let's link it to games research. So if
I-
that was your first exposure, where did the decision to go into games research come in?
I'm not well. I shifted myself.
Mhm.
I was originally in political science, and I didn't do any research really because where I was, it wasn't really field to do any research about that. And when I got to the U.S. to the Media and Communication Temple University
Okay.
program, I was mostly studying presence, because there was a person, Matthew Lombard, who is was at least one of the biggest names in the field, and I was lucky to get there. And I was studying presence, and presence is usually associated with VR.
Okay.
But it's not. It's not just VR.
Sure.
But anyway, it's just usually associated with VR, with very specific scholarship. And I was like, well, it's not just that. I want to study more in the video game. And even before I got to the PhD, I was preparing. Like I was applying for 4 years to PhD.
Wow.
I had like a big gap between my master's and PhD.
Starting PhD, yeah.
And yeah. So I was doing some stupid stuff, but also I was preparing, and I even published some really terrible paper. My first paper is such a garbage. No,
That's how we all feel.
I'm very much honest about that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not. I'm not exaggerating. It's really bad, and it was just a bad journal. They're like, yeah, sure. Like, okay, well, I didn't know how this works, and you know how
No,
bad
of
journal it
course.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just exploring what I was interested in that area, in area of presence and immersion and experiences of media users and players. And I was like, okay, well, not everything is presence. What else is there? And I was just starting to figure out, okay, well, the games are very interesting in terms of how we experience
Very
them,
cool.
how we get immersed in the games.
Right.
And this is much more diverse than it's when it comes to VR or any other technology, other media. And then I started to dig deeper and trying to kind of theorize and make a framework what those experiences can be. How can they coexist with each other? And yeah, this is how I got really interested in video games research.
Very good.
No, that's super interesting. So what was kind of like your first, I would say, because you've talked a lot about VR specifically. So what was kind of like your first experience like getting into working with that specific technology? Especially since it's changed so broadly over the last like few years in terms of like the actual technological affordances. So like what was your kind of like first experience like going into VR and versus like where you are now?
Well, it was fun because I've never like the first I did a study. I thought it was going to be a full study, but it wasn't. It was just a pilot, pilot, because I didn't have much of support. We didn't have a lab, a group. I was just by myself. And if I asked question advisor, he would answer it. But if I didn't, then I was on my own. Well, that always happens. Not everyone is a great mentor, and not everyone has a lot of time. So I would just figure out stuff by myself. And my first VR experiment and the first time I dealt with VR wasn't great. I had no idea how to analyze data. What is this tracking data is, how to deal with it. I did a nice experiment, but it wasn't good, really. And but I learned to do something. I learned to make simple virtual environments with simple animations. But yeah, and right now it's way much better because I don't do that myself. I have a huge group of people who can do that who at GI.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Like I can't imagine like having to go in and being like, okay, you have all of this great technology, but you have to design the internal world yourself. So good luck if you don't know how to do that. So for people who may not know, and especially since like I'm quite familiar with your research and especially with this concept of like social VR in particular. So can you explain a bit about what social VR is, especially since we've already talked a bit about presence, but also like what is essentially social VR?
Well, social VR, I would say, is an attempt right now. It's not a complete technology or platform. It's an attempt to recreate social interactions in virtually simulated environments. And it's definitely not perfect. People have a lot of problems with that. But what some people like, what I find from my research is that, and is with any technology or media, if people really want and really benefit from something, they will experience to the full extent because they just need it or really want it. And that works with a lot of people when the COVID started, when families got separated, when all those stuff happened, and people found this supplement in the social VR, even how no matter how bad it was, like objectively, but for them it was really helpful. But otherwise, it's not. Yes, it's in terms of presence. It's like there are different types of presence, and the social VR, what is unique about it is it allows to feel both this sort of physical type of presence, meaning you can feel like in the regular VR, just feeling that the simulation is not really simulated, that you can do things, you can be somewhere. And also it's social presence because of other people, because you communicate with real people. So it's kind of a combination, but it's not a perfect combination yet because there's the different types of modalities. This is simulated, artificial, and real mediated people. And that's not perfectly combined. It requires something more.
Oh no, that's super interesting. Because I know also your work has touched a bit upon specifically avatar customization. So how does that kind of like factor into also like this idea of like presence and like social interaction within a VR space?
There was an angle about that. I'm not focusing on it anymore, but it might be a big part of it as well, because if it matters to you, like not where everyone matters. Like I had a little study about video games, about how white dudes, they don't care what kind of avatars they have, what kind of like peer characters they have. They don't need white male character because they don't care about it.
Yeah.
They don't have an identity really to care about. Well, because it's a default.
Yeah.
So for them, identity is like, oh, that's a thing I can play with. But for others, like for people of color, for women, for non-binary people, this is something important. The representation matters for them. So they definitely care about it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty much the same thing in virtual environments.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I think I was making, it wasn't Baldur's Gate 3, but it was some RPG, and I was like, yeah, just click ahead. Like, I don't care what this person looks like. I'm just going to cover them with an armor anyway. But I think that's fascinating, because then my wife is like, no, they need to have this shade of whatever, and, everything is pixel perfect.
It's all individual, but
Yeah.
Culturally,
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Culturally as well, especially since I feel like a lot of those larger games like Baldur's Gate and the recent new Dragon Age game that came out, like their customization abilities for player characters, I think is much more in depth than it used to be.
It's almost a bragging point now.
Yeah.
Like, how good is your character?
How
customization?
many things can you do? How many options do you have for various different things, right? No. Within your research, have you found anything that has pleasantly surprised you so far, or any kind of fun little facts that you've discovered along the way that you're just like, I wasn't expecting that? Especially since you do a lot of those kind of in-person studies.
I mean, usually because, well, if it's explorative, I don't have any expectations, but when I do confirmatory research, usually what I expect that happens. So I'm just trying to remember. I don't think anything that's surprise. I was like, yes, this is how it should be. Thank you. Thank you, results.
Thank you for confirming.
Evidence. Thank you, evidence. Love you. So, yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you design these studies, are you taking a video game that already exists that has a VR option and you say, how can we use this to find something? Or are you crafting digital spaces to hopefully discover something?
I mean, I don't compare VR and games.
Okay.
Well, I don't think it's plausible. Well, they're very different forms of media.
Sure.
And for the VR study specifically, yes, I would have to, it depends on the research, but I'll specifically have to make some environment that is either a stimuli or a specific environment where the stimuli exists.
Sure.
With video games, because I'm looking into players' experiences, I'm usually, I think, interested in whatever you play. Whatever, especially if it's immersive experiences, I'm whatever you enjoy and play consistently, so you can share with us rich memories of your play experience.
Okay, very cool.
Mm-hmm. Is there any kind of thought process? I know we talked a bit about how you have a bit more help now with designing the specific VR environments. But what kind of is your thought process? Either going into crafting the design of it, or what it is that you're expecting out of these environments that studies are trying to work within.
Can you say it again?
Yeah, so I just want to know a bit more about the thought process that goes into crafting these specific environments, and what is it that goes into either making them or to what it is that you're trying to get out of player interaction within these environments. How is it that you craft these spaces?
It depends on the research question. Okay, well, in one of the studies, the studies that I really, really love right now, because it's really simple, and we sent it to the ICA. We got desk rejected from IEEE VR because of the appendix and the page limit.
Oh my word!
Which was just disappointing, but it's fine, and we're just gonna submit it right away because it's a really cool study. It's about that we can feel more immersed and feel presence in the virtual environment if we don't know what the physical surrounding look like.
Interesting.
If we don't know where we are exactly.
Interesting.
I mean, in my case, it was immersion lab at the GI, and just people didn't know what is inside, but they knew that they are kind of in the building. So that was a part of the kind of a confound. But I think effect will be much stronger if people just don't know at all anything. But there was still a really strong effect because people were focusing on the virtual world because they didn't know what to think about the real world because there's not enough cues to think about it. So they focused more on the virtual world, and sometimes the virtual world felt like the only real world.
Interesting.
And that's really simple stimuli that I've wanted to test for a long time. And and this environment, I designed it a long time ago to stimulate behavioral response. There was walls and ceilings coming down at you.
Oh.
Very slowly.
Yeah.
Very
Okay,
slowly.
that's better.
No, very slowly, like once in a time, just not all at the same
Sure.
time.
So
imagine?
Indiana Jones trap or something like that.
Just carefully, just to measure reaction. And this is part of my research as well, trying to find ways to measure presence, because just people use questionnaires, but they just don't work.
Right.
And I've done research about that, and it shows that it doesn't work. So I'm just trying to find ways how to measure this illusory state.
That's
Mm,
cool.
interesting.
So I'm curious about, so in my mind, VR still seems like it's kind of, if you can afford like a VR set in your house, you have a little bit more money than most gamers, probably, right? So when you have participants, are most of them like very familiar with VR? And they're like, oh, it's a VR study, I want to go participate because I have knowledge of it? Or are these people who are just curious about it? I guess like what level of experience are you finding the participants in these studies have in terms of like how frequently they use VR, or if it's something that they're really accustomed to?
It's all the examples you just listed.
Okay. you see everything?
People either very interested, they have their own set, like headsets, their own set of technology, or they never used it, they want to use it. They used it once in the mall and they want to do that again. But sometimes they're like, even in the recent studies, people sometimes get disappointed because that wasn't something that they expected. And that can heavily affect the whole thing. Because if you're disappointed and you're frustrated, you will not perceive anything. No matter
Right,
how good
yeah.
thing is, if it's below your expectations, you're like, no.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
suspension of
what,
disbelief goes away.
Yeah.
well, maybe.
Maybe.
But yeah, they're very different people. Sometimes people never had anything as well, but they are very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Because they may not have any expectations, because they might be just really want to try that thing no matter what it is, and they just open
Right.
themselves.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, but it might be a little dangerous though. Sometimes they're just too involved,
They're
and they forget about all the safety instructions.
Oh, great. Yeah. No, especially when you're working with like that amount of equipment within a confined space.
Yeah,
You
the
can't see
immersion
where you
lab isn't
technically
very
are.
big.
No. And there's a lot of stuff in there. Have you noticed, are there any sort of like barriers that you've encountered for how people can either access social VR or even like get into VR? Are there any like things that you've noticed in terms of like what types of participant studies get attracted to your kind of work?
Well, I've never dealt with social media users in person. It was mostly because there are not many of them, and also like if you need more people, it's much better to get them online, like just anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I've never really met a lot of social VR users. But yeah, a lot of people who I've met who use just any sort of VR technology, they are just use it somewhere else. They don't really own it. So I wouldn't. I mean, it is a little more accessible, but it's still not as accessible. It's not.
Yeah.
It's we cannot say that VR is the widespread popular technology.
It's so expensive.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about my experience. The very first time that I used VR, it was at the GI. I used one of the things in the in the immersion lab, and I played Resident Evil 7. It was a terrible experience. That's an awful game to play in virtual reality.
Oh, I can't imagine that playing Resident Evil 7.
But then a while later, I was visiting my family, and my brother's in-laws have like a rig in their house, and it was the one that you don't just like put on and run through a cell phone. They had like the sensors and the camera. Like it was a big deal.
Oh.
But it must have cost like $2-3 grand, right? So not every family is going to have that. But I feel like now with something like PlayStation VR, that's like $500, which is like, that's still, almost another console. But it's getting to the point where it feels more accessible for those, again, kind of more hardcore users for that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure. I don't know if it's a money thing or just people look at it and go, yeah, so I'm going to spend $500 to play like 2 more games or 3 more games, right? Like there's not a lot of offerings, I feel, or that I'm seeing that use it to that point. Would you play VR like Red Dead 2?
I don't think
Or
so. Like I've
Halo?
oh man, I also think it's an issue for me of like cyber sickness.
Yeah, of course,
I don't
yeah.
think I can tolerate being in a VR space for a long period of time. And when I'm gaming Red Dead, I'm there for at least 2 hours. Like I don't think I can be in a VR headset for like 2 hours. I think there's also just like the physical limitation of like using technology for like that for so long. Yeah.
Do you have thoughts about that?
I mean, I would also not like. I wouldn't, even though I use it for research. I don't use it myself as much. But I wouldn't play for a long time myself for sure. But as well as it's not. I wouldn't say well, from my perspective, VR games. The best VR games are more likely to be kind of more into the simulator type.
Right.
The
Yeah.
games that are usually short session. Like I would love to play, I don't know, ping pong. It looks pretty fascinating because it's kind of sounds it looks like very much
Yeah.
like a real thing. But yeah,
That is an interesting point because thinking back to when I played with my extended family, I guess it was kind of mini games. Like it was almost a Mario Party kind of thing where it's like, hey, for this 2 minutes, you're going to have this quick activity, or very experiential. Of the one that traumatized me was you're standing on the bow of a sunken ship and you're just like looking around, and then this massive like blue whale comes up.
Oh my goodness.
I still shudder at the thought because it was too visceral for my taste. But yeah, so it was that kind of stuff. It wasn't even like a game per se. It was like, here's a scene, and you're going to just kind of behold it, right?
yeah, it's an early development kind of VR experience.
Right, yeah.
Applications. It's very much it's a replica of the just what it was called is like a virtual plank when you're like on the skyscraper.
Yeah.
And you this is very simple. It's I'm pretty sure it's based on an existing experiment, VR experiment. But yes, it's a very simple thing to do. If you have any sort of height fear, then it's
Yeah.
gonna affect you right
Yeah.
away. And
1,000%.
Cool.
Yeah, no. No, it's kind of like super interesting in terms of like what actually is out there, because I feel like for VR, they're still in their like demo disc phase of like what is actually available to play on these systems. Because I know the people at that made the Horizon series, they
Right.
did have a VR game. I've heard no discussion about it.
Yeah, you
just
don't hear
because-
about them after they come
No,
out.
because it's also just it's for such a small demographic of game players of like actually again because it's an access of technology, but also people actually being able to feel like I could play this game, and then realizing I can't tolerate the VR-ness of it all because of the physical limitations.
What was the place? There was one in Waterloo that was like you go and you pay 50 or like $10. And you
Oh,
get
like
a
the
half
VR
hour.
cafes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of what the one in Waterloo is called, but that's like the other main way that I see access. So like you're mentioning malls and that kind of stuff, right? But there's, like kids' birthday parties go to these places and get an hour of VR or something like that.
Yeah. Going a bit back to kind of like your studies and what it is that you're trying to measure for and study for, because this is kind of like rather like subjective, what kind of like values are you kind of like expecting out of like these study results? Like what kind of like, what are you kind of like looking for in terms of data when you're going into these studies?
well, depends on which ones. What do you mean by subjective?
So in terms of like immersion or like representation or that sense of presence, like how would you be able to like measure for that?
Well, that's a beautiful question. That's I wish there was more people I could collaborate on that, because I'm not fully equipped myself to answer those questions yet. I definitely know for myself that something doesn't work. I don't know how how things work. But right now, the way I did it, it's to look into how people describe their experiences in terms of immersion specifically.
Yeah.
Because immersion is very diverse. And in the recent study that was, well, it wasn't recent. It pretty much one of the first studies that I have done. It was about the immersive experiences and the relationship between different immersive experiences from the player's perspective. It was just published in the Human Studies. It's about so what kind of immersion they are from my perspective, from my approach. There is what you would call a sensory immersive experience and the mental immersive experience. The sensory immersive experience you get from manipulating with some simulation when you control an avatar, when you do something and its avatar represents you in the virtual world, you are located in this physical environment, just like sense of presence is in terms of VR or any other simulation. And then there is a mental, or sometimes it's called narrative immersion, which is an imaginative, mental, and emotional process of relating to the story, to the characters. And in a video game, all of those things can coexist. And what my limited but still very rich data shows that it's possible, it exists, especially I've noticed that in RPGs, when people role play, they enact both the role and they act through the role, through this narrative role in this virtual world. And they might change it, they might adapt it for themselves, they might put themselves as their personality first and just adapt some characteristics. But often it's not that rich. So very often people there was this cool mechanism that players used. I call it "it's not me." Like when something terrible happens or something disgusting that they don't want to do themselves, but they have to. They okay, this is not me doing that. This is character. I'm not.
Interesting.
I'm not doing that. This is disgusting.
I don't condone this, but however, for the sake of the game.
Yeah, the character, why are you doing that? This is gross. And this shows that they are not they're not sensorially immersed anymore because they're not doing something themselves, but they still relate to the story and what is happening, as in they're still mentally immersed. So there's different combinations of that immersive experiences.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that is cool.
Especially from the RPG perspective and how much it is both a mental kind of activity of how much you can immerse yourself mentally, but then also actually putting yourself into, I think, the character that you're playing or the scenario that you're within. Yeah.
Yeah, I had an experience yesterday. I was playing D&D in my class, which is always a fun thing. And everybody was like, how come we're not using a board? Because everybody thought you had to have the tactile board with miniatures and stuff. I was like,
Oh,
no,
they know
we're-
about the big productions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, no, we just do theater of the mind. And so through this whole conversation, I'm like, what would VR D&D look like to actually be in the space and to have that visual? I wonder if it would be an increased level of immersion or if it would be reductive because now you don't have to imagine, right? You lose some of that creative energy.
Well, it depends on people because when it comes to the narrative or mental immersion, like books,
Right.
they are technically supposed to be the most immersive media form because there's so much to imagine, right?
Yeah.
Or oral narrative. But for some people, because it's hard. I don't know how it's hard to read, or because it's just easier for them to process a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or audio narrative, like audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more immersive for them because otherwise they're not immersed at all.
Yeah.
So there's a threshold, individual threshold, and sometimes the movie is more effective for them, or in this case, some sort of simulation that helps them not to imagine too much because they don't want to, but they still can experience and enjoy it.
Do you know if that kind of quirk, I don't know the better word for it, is something that people are born with or is it a nurturing thing? Because I know there's some people that, if I say picture an apple, some people will picture the fruit and some people will picture the word APPLE.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't have that kind of visual.
It's varying degrees of how well you're able to envision something. Because I'm I can see the apple all day
I'm
long.
picturing an apple right now.
I can turn it in my mind.
But
I can do
know
whatever I
that
want
there's some
with it.
people who, when you say that, they picture the word
Or it's just
spelled
they
out.
have a reduced sense of how they can visualize an apple.
Well, I'm not able to speak on this specific topic.
Sure.
But what I do know is that the imagination is not pictorial, meaning that we don't see images. Well,
Then what am I doing?
People who are blind from the birth,
Right.
they still
They
have
still have
imagination.
imagination. Okay, that's a cool. I've never thought of that.
And
before.
there's a so-called possibilistic model of consciousness. That it's not a model of consciousness, really. It's more like an approach to cognition that says that what we imagine is possibilities.
Oh, I like that.
So there are different and that works really nicely for me to divide different types of immersive experiences because for presence or sensory immersion, we need to be certain what we see, what we feel.
Nice. Yeah.
If something is not there, then we have to imagine that, and that can be anything. It's possible,
Right.
and that's a problem, especially if we pay attention to this possibility. So then the reality is not complete for us because it's just a simulation. But when it comes to narratives, that's the opposite. We need those possibilities. We need to stimulate imagination. We need to guide it. Well, okay, what's going to happen?
Right.
What are they think? Why are they doing that? So this division that helped me to delineate.
Yeah. I like that a lot. That's really cool. That makes a lot of sense.
No. So you have said that you are interested in working with the industry to improve like VR. What would be your dream scenario if someone gave you a job and said, how do we fix this? Like, how would you see yourself working within, say, the industry, specifically in regards to VR?
I'm not saying I didn't say that. I just don't remember. But I can, I guess, imagine me saying that. I was thinking about this recently because I'm applying for faculty jobs right now, and there is one position that includes development of the master program about immersive technologies. And I was thinking, what kind of course maybe the final course that I would develop, and that would be wouldn't be related to technologies themselves, because I'm not as an HCI researcher. I'm more into the human side of the research. I'm a media psychologist, and I'm interested in human experiences. Technology is like, yes, we use it, but this is what people feel and experience, how they experience it. This is what I'm interested in. And this is what I would design, is the immersive experience design course.
Cool.
Because it would be based on technology, of course, but it's not just technology. It's how we use it, in what context, and who we are that constitutes this experience. So that I'm not sure if the industry cares about that, to be honest. But if users are interested in that, because they care about the experience.
I'm sure they're doing some kind of research similar to that of like, how do we do more with this than just the kind of typical first-person shooter, that kind of thing that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, or anything that, the internet memes on in terms of like the actual like applications of like the metaverse and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think that's usually a lot of people's like first reactions to when they think about VR. It's just like technology that they either wouldn't use normally or just see it as kind of like, oh, this is a fun thing for tech billionaires to play with, but not really useful for the common person. But have you noticed anything with like in the industry, like at large, like if we're talking a bit different from like academia and what it is we're doing in research spaces versus like what's happening in the industry? Is there anything that you're interested that's coming out of the industry or something that you're keeping your eye on?
Well, I would say the recent advancement that I've noticed so far, like AR technology, for instance, is out of my interest for sure. But at least for now, maybe there's a study that one of my colleagues is trying to initiate. It might be interesting, but otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't say anything much exciting.
Nah, fair enough.
So when you're not performing your research and analyzing data and stuff like that, do you play games in your free time?
I'm trying to.
You're trying to. Okay, so what are you trying to play these days?
Well, because I don't have much time, I usually play something that has like you play in a really short period of time. So at some point, I started to play Call of Duty Black Ops a long time ago. I think it was the third one. I played with a friend online. It was really fun, just the two of us. But then he couldn't play, so I had to play multiplayer.
Oh
and
no!
That was terrible. And the third one, it's an old game. It was on Steam, and I got hacked. I closed the game, and I can see on my screen, hi, it's me. Don't worry about it. I just changed your wallpaper. It's fine.
Oh,
okay.
I wasn't amused. I wasn't at all. But now I play little more contemporary game. Like I think it's called Cold War or something. Just one map that I just feel comfortable to playing even, and I'm getting pretty good. So other people are pretty bad. So I was like, okay, that's getting boring. Only because I've played it for quite a long time, a lot of time. But yeah, and usually it's some roguelike indie games. Like one of the cutest games I played is Children of Morta. It's about a little family that's tried to kind of to beat the evil and I think save grandma or and ma.
Yeah,
I
I know the
Grandma.
game. I don't know the narrative.
Yeah, it's
behind
real
it,
beautiful,
yeah, yeah.
and there's a lot of beautiful like pixel art
Yeah.
games out
Yeah.
there, and I think I get into the roguelite genre real fast. Maybe because I like the action RPG from Diablo. This is what I would have talked in the beginning. How I got hooked by Diablo 2.
Yep.
Immediately as a teenager, and how I finished all of it, and how I used the calculator to change the save files with the hex code
Yep.
to bump up all the stats
Nice.
because it was so like boring already. Yeah, and I played all the further Diablo games, and they're not as good.
Oh my
That's
word.
disappointing.
Did you play Diablo 4 then?
I played it before they changed everything. I haven't played it yet, the new version, and you have to buy this a new add-on, and I will certainly buy it at some point when there is a discount. But no, it will take a lot of time to play it, so I don't have time right now.
Very cool. I'm writing my dissertation about Diablo 2.
Wow.
I should send you a book about it. It's fascinating.
Yeah, we need to chat.
Oh yeah.
Just about Diablo.
Yeah, there's a lot to chat
Diablo
about.
two.
An
Diablo.
entire podcast episode just talking about Diablo.
Have you played the what is it called?
Yeah, Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Yeah. Is it?
Oh, it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it on
Like,
sale.
I was thinking about it.
It's I put 300 hours onto it on
Oh
Switch.
my word.
Oh my god. The
Yeah.
druid was my favorite.
Okay, I play Paladin.
I like summoners. I like friends.
Yeah.
I like having friends around,
Yeah.
but also I like to transform. So this was perfect.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And the worst part about the recent Diablo 4 is that you don't stay in that condition like the druid. You
It's
don't.
just like a single attack.
It's
thing or
yeah.
something? Okay.
There is a special, unique something
Right.
that holds the condition, but it's still not the same. I was like, I want to stay being a bear. Why?
No, go buy Diablo 2 Resurrected. It'll solve all those problems. Yeah, it's really good.
Well, still need the time. But yes.
Yeah, that's true. You don't probably don't have 300 hours to grind up more characters.
Not yet. Well, if I don't get it, no, don't
You
get a
do
job,
1
then-
hour every day. You can do it within a year.
Yeah, that's like saying, well, I don't know, have a better analogy for it, but that's hard to just say, I'm only going to do an hour of this when it's the slot machine, the best slot machine in the world.
I've done that before where it's like only 1 hour and then boom, 5 hours later. And I'm like, don't remember the last time I drank something. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you would like to plug or anything else you'd like to mention before we come to a close here today?
Let me see. What can I advertise about myself?
This is your moment.
Yeah, this is
your
spotlight's on you.
platform.
Those millions people gonna love me. Yeah. I think that pretty much it. I'm actually doing the poster for the GI
Oh, yeah.
about my immersion approach.
Yes.
Cool.
And I'm really excited about it because the social VR is I came to the GI, to the Waterloo with this project, and it's interesting.
Yeah.
But like this is more my personal favorite area because it applies to so many things, to games, not games, immersive storytelling that is complicated. Yeah, so I'm really excited. It is just a poster in the building of the game studio, but it means to a
Yes.
lot.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's great. Fabulous. All right. How can people get in touch with you? How can they reach out to you if they have any questions?
Well, if you can spell my last name, it's pretty much like Eugene Kukshinov, and there's not many people like that. It's easy to Google. But yeah, I'm usually a GI. If we're talking locally.
Yeah, we'll make sure there's some contact options in the description down below. So, all right.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.